A very good afternoon to you and welcome to iRadio News. First, here the headline. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has requested its diplomats in European countries to establish the number of South Sudanese living in Ukraine and Russia. South Sudanese students on government scholarship at Suez University in Egypt have camped at the Cairo embassy for 4 days now, demanding government to clear their credit hours arrears. And an immunization specialist at the UN Children Agency UNICEF is calling on expectant mothers, girls, and women of reproductive age to get immunized against tetanus. These stories and more coming to you in this news bulletin with me, Yar Ajak Deng, and other news in detail. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has requested its diplomats in European countries to establish the number of South Sudanese living in Ukraine and Russia. This, according to the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs, is to enable Juba plan for ways to help its citizens in Ukraine. The call comes a day after Russia invaded Ukraine yesterday. The Russian invasion and attack continue on its second day despite calls to ceasefire. As a result of the invasion, some Ukrainian citizens, including foreign nationals, fled the country. Yesterday, the government of Nigeria said it will evacuate its citizens who wish to leave Ukraine as soon as airports are reopened in the country. According to reports, more than 1,000 Ukrainians flee the Russian assault have arrived to Poland. Some Ukrainian residents took to underground metro stations to escape the first day of Russian military attack on the country. When contacted by iRadio, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs says it tasked the foreign mission across Europe to provide information to South Sudanese living in Ukraine and Russia. According to the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs, South Sudan has no embassy in Ukraine. But Deng Dao says the government asked its mission in Moscow and other European countries to provide information about South Sudanese living in Kyiv. There is no clear information how many South Sudanese living in both Russia and Ukraine. However, Dao said once the information is provided, the government will take appropriate steps to ensure safety for its citizens.
Well, we are very much concerned on the situation in Ukraine because of the security and safety of any South Sudanese that has been in Ukraine. But we have asked our embassies to give us the exact information with regard to, because we don't have an embassy in Ukraine. So we have asked our citizens to give us the information regarding the citizens of South Sudan in Ukraine, students or citizens that have took earlier there. So as soon as we get the information, we can be able to share with you. We have asked our embassies across Europe and Moscow to give us the details of the South Sudanese in Ukraine. The government will formalize its position.
Deng Dao spoke to iRadio this morning in Juba. South Sudanese students on government scholarship at Suez University in Egypt have camped at the Cairo embassy for 4 days now, demanding government to clear their credit arrears. The nearly 30 petroleum exploration and engineering students are protesting against credit hours arrears. They vote to stay at the embassy until their demands are met. They claim the university is demanding $1,500 from the South Sudanese Ministry of Higher Education per student. The students first went to the embassy on Tuesday protesting against the arrears, saying the government in Juba should clear their outstanding dues. Some of them are expected to complete their studies this year. Joseph Panaru Achil is the representative of the protesting students. He argues that the scholarship arrangements do not require them to pay for the credit hour system. He is now calling on the government to intervene.
In the credit hour system, the university said this system is a private system, it is an international system, and any student who go to that department is supposed to pay the money. We were very clear with the university that we know very clear that we are supposed to pay, but we were not told from the very beginning, and even the documents that we signed from Juba, none of documents that indicate that you are supposed to pay it in this department. We report the issue to Wafidin, then we report to the embassy, asking them why do the university ask for extra fee when the students are under scholarship. Most of the students who are studying under government scholarship are not asked to pay an extra fee, and the amount that are supposed to be paid in this incredible system in Swiss University as we speak right now is 1,500 to 1,600 US dollars per semester.
When contacted by iRadio, the South Sudan ambassador to Egypt says the disagreement between students and the university administration over the credit hours areas will be addressed as soon as possible. Joseph Mwomajak, however, distanced the embassy from misusing the money. He spoke to iRadio on phone from Cairo yesterday.
الموضوع بتاع السفارة أكل قروشهم بتاع المنحة وكده حاجات دول أصلا ما في قروش بتاع المنحة أصلا بتيجي للسفارة ولا بتجي لطلبة من أي جهة. الموجود في المنحة ده هو اتفاق بين قومتين جنوب السودان ومصر، لكن الاختلاف في الموضوع ده يعني ما عنده علاقة بالمنحة، ما في أي حاجة تأثر بالمنحة. الحصل في برنامج يعملوا جامعات في سوريا نظام بتاع كريدت أور سيستم، يعني ده ما مجاني، جامعة بتعمله للطالب العايز يخلص مثلا قبل الزمن بتاع البرنامج بتاعه، فالطلبة ديل بيمشي بيسجل وعايز يسجل وعنده قروش زيادة، لكن المصريين حسب السيستم بتاعهم هم بيساوي طلبة من جنوب السودان نفس المعاملة بتاع الطلبة المصريين، فهم سمح لهم يخش في البرنامج ده. لكن البرنامج ده طبعا جاب بورقة من الوافدين، في 2 خطاب من الوافدين بيقول انه الطلبة التابعين لدول حوض النيل ده المفروض يرفعوا الرسوم، لكن ما حد الرسوم ده رسوم يعني مجلس العالي للجامعات ده بيقول لا، الطلبة ديل اللي عايزين يخشوا في البرنامج ده ما مجاني يرفعوا القروش ده.
You are listening to iRadio Afternoon News. An immunization specialist at the UN Children's Agency UNICEF is calling on expectant mothers, girls and women of reproductive age to get immunized against tetanus. Tetanus is an acute, often fatal disease caused by oxidants produced by cholesterol tetani. It occurs in newborn infants born to mothers who do not have sufficient circulating antibodies to protect the infant passively by transplacental transfer. According to UNICEF, tetanus develops when the bacterium Clostridium tetani infects a cut or wound. The UN Children's Agency says unclean delivery or abortion practices can result in maternal tetanus, while neonatal tetanus occurs when an infant's umbilical cord is cut with a non-sterile instrument. Symptoms of tetanus among newborns include spasms and tightening of muscles in the newborn's jaw and neck, and later stage in the back and abdomen. The tightening of the jaw prevents the infant from breastfeeding. To prevent fatal disease, the UNICEF South Sudan immunization specialist Samuel Patti has called on girls and women of reproductive age to get vaccinated against tetanus. He was speaking to iRadio during the iRadio's Our Voice show.
Tetanus vaccination is free of charge and is available in the country, and I'm requesting all women of reproductive age from 15 years go and get vaccinated. As I'm speaking now, there is already campaign going on in some of the locations, and there is the vaccines are available in the facilities, all the facilities, functional facilities in the country. Please go and get vaccinated so that your child and yourself are protected. We don't want to see our future generations dying because of preventable disease. Tetanus is a killer disease and is a silent killer. We don't want to expose ourselves when there is already prevention against tetanus.
Dr. Patti advised South Sudanese to desist from using ancient traditional methods such as use of ashes, cow's urine, and dung for cleaning wounds.
For deliveries, the materials that midwives and or whoever is delivering should be sterilized materials, blades that are sterilized, not using contaminated razor blades, or sometimes in traditional they use some bags of husks, grains for cutting the umbilicus, which are not really scientifically and hygienically safe. And the use of cow dungs, the use of ashes, whatever materials they are using traditionally, should not be the practice in the country. Otherwise, if we use the traditional ways of using cow dungs or ashes, these are the dangerous practices that may expose our children and mothers to tetanus disease.
Tetanus in newborn babies is an infection causing rigidity, muscle spasms, and often death. According to the World Health Organization data published in 2018, tetanus death in South Sudan reached 1,907, or 1.73% of total deaths. The vaccine against tetanus allowed massive progress in controlling the disease. And finally, before the international news, President Salva Kiir has issued an order forming an 11-member committee to investigate last week's deadly net market shooting. Last week, 3 people were killed and 6 others injured in a random shooting at a net market in Abyei administrative area. Abyei Chief Administrator Kwal DM Kwal alleged that the attack was carried out by armed youth from Twitch County of Warrap State. A nurse working for the Medicine Sans Frontier was killed, and more than 50,000 people have also been displaced in the fighting. As a result, UNMISS and MSF issued a statement condemning the attack. The medical charity MSF and Save the Children suspended their operations in the area after several of its staff were displaced due to the recent conflicts. In a presidential decree read out on the state-run television SSBC last evening, President Kiir formed an 11-member committee to investigate the net market deadly incidents. The committee shall be headed by the Vice President for Service Cluster, Hussein Abdelbagi Akol. Other members include Unity State Governor Joseph Ngwen Muntwil, Dr. Dhieu Mathok, the Minister of Investment, Deng Alor Kwal, the Minister of East African Community Affairs, Inspector General of Police General Majak Akech Malok, and Lieutenant General Akol Kurkuch, the Director General of the Internal Security Bureau, NSS. Others are Lieutenant General Marshal Stephen Baben, Director of Military Intelligence, SSPDF, Honorable Nyandeng Malek, Honorable Aisha Abbas, Honorable Malwal Acheng, and Honorable Charles Majak Alier. Their role will be to investigate the cause of deadly intercommunal clashes that broke out on the February 10th. The committee is also tasked to come up with measures to deter the occurrence of such incidents in the future. The committee will co-opt any member where it's deemed necessary. The committee, according to the order, is required to submit its findings and recommendations to President Salva Kiir within 21 working days. And now to the international news. My colleague Atem Jennifer joins us, and this international news is brought to you by MTN.
1, 2, 3. 1 million. 2 million.
Yes. It's time to celebrate MTN 2 million. MTN has reached over 2 million customers and still counting. Are you? With over 2 million subscribers, why won't you trust MTN?
To enter the draw, get an MTN SIM card today and get free 10 minutes every day for 3 months and 500 MB every month for 3 months. And on top of that, qualify to enter a draw to win 2 million SSP cash.
Sabi, what are you waiting for? Buy an MTN SIM card today and get to win 2 million SSP. Yes, when MTN says 2 million SSP, it's 2 million for one lucky Junubin. Second winner gets 200,000 SSP, 10 winners get 20,000 SSP, and others get lots of MTN branded prizes.
Join MTN, the biggest family in South Sudan, and enjoy such amazing offers.
MTN, everywhere you go.
Thank you.
you and welcome to the international news with the top stories making headlines from the region and beyond. A Kenyan girl has been sentenced to 5 years in jail for manslaughter over a school dormitory fire that killed 9 of her colleagues. The 18-year-old committed the offense in 2017 while aged 14 in her first year of secondary school at the Moi Girls in the capital, Nairobi. The court has heard that she had attempted to take her life twice before she started the fire in her cubicle. The parents and guardians of the girls who died in the fire say the sentence was lenient but were glad justice was served at last, local media report. And elsewhere, Somali leaders have extended the deadline for the completion of long-delayed parliamentary elections to 15th March. The elections, which have been postponed several times in the past, had been scheduled to conclude by 25th February. Somali leaders cited drought, security concerns, and financial challenges for the extension of the deadline. Privately on radio, Risala reported. So far, 64% of the seats in the 275-member lower house of parliament have been filled. On 11th January, the U.S. threatened to impose sanctions, including visa restrictions on Somali politicians, to respond to the further delays to the election or actions that undermine the integrity of the process. And finally, Ukraine's army is ready to repel a full-scale Russian invasion with the fierce battles taking place close to the capital, Kyiv. Fighting is raging at an airfield on the outskirts of the city, and it could become a springboard for the Russian army into Kyiv if its troops seize it. The Russian assault is being fought on several fronts after it attacked from the east, north, and south on Thursday. Kyiv has been hit by blasts and at least one block of flats was damaged. There are also reports of gunfire inside the city on its northern outskirts, amid Ukrainian government warnings that saboteurs may already be operating inside the city. This international news was brought to you by MTN with me, Atem Jennifer Maburmading.
Thank you, Jennifer. And now my colleague John Liberio joins us with the sports news.
Thank you, Yaron. Welcome to Sports News. In local sport, on the second edition of the Women's South Sudan Cup yesterday, Kuku Women FC of Torit defeated Arabita Women FC of Juba 3-1 in the opening match at Bullock Playground. Winnie Pitia is scored 2 times, in the first minute and in 22 minutes for Kuku FC, and Melinda Gadish at 85 minutes, while Victoria Joy is scored for Arabita Women FC at 66 minutes. Still in South Sudan Basketball Federation have released their final 21-man squad for FIBA World Cup qualifier in Dakar. South Sudan will face Rwanda today at 2 p.m. World Football's governing body has suspended Kenya and Zimbabwe, citing government interference. FIFA said both countries knew what was expected to be done for the suspension to be lifted. Kenya's sports ministry disbanded the Football Kenya Federation over alleged misappropriation of funds and appointed a caretaker committee. FIFA had warned the government at the time. The Zimbabwe Football Association was disbanded over sexual harassment allegations. A FIFA ban means that the two countries cannot take part in international competitions until the suspension is lifted. In Europa League, Barcelona put an impressive performance to beat Napoli and reach the Europa League last 16. They led by 2 goals when Jordi Alba finished off a counter-attack from Adama Traore's ball and Frenkie de Jong caught in a stunning shot. Lorenzo Insigne gave Napoli hope with a penalty to make it 3-2 on aggregate. But Gerard Piqué is caught and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang fired into the top corner from Traore's pass, with Matteo Politano netting a late consolation. Barcelona will discover their last 16 opponents, one of the Europa League group winners in Friday's draw. Both sets of players stood with a banner saying "Stop War" before kickoff in response to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And that was the end of Sports News with me, John Liberio, and back to my colleague, Yara Jack.
Thank you, John. And now to end this news bulletin, here is a recap of the main headlines again. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has requested its diplomats in European countries to establish the number of South Sudanese living in Ukraine and Russia. South Sudanese students on government scholarship at Suez University in Egypt have camped at the Cairo embassy for 4 days now, demanding government to clear their credit hours arrears. And an immunization specialist at the UN Children Agency UNICEF is calling on expectant mothers, girls and women of reproductive age to get immunized against tetanus. That's the end of iRadio Afternoon News. You can also get these stories and updates by subscribing to iRadio News Alert on your MTN South Sudan number. Call 700 *700# and follow the instructions. If there is a story or an event you would like iRadio to cover or report about, please send us a text message on +211 912 986 986. It is also our WhatsApp number. Follow us on Twitter at iRadio Juba. Like our Facebook page, iRadio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, iRadio South Sudan, and watch our comprehensive interviews. You can also visit our website and listen to us online at www.iradio.org. Stay tuned for the news in Arabic at 1:30 p.m. I am Yar Ajakdeng. Thank you for listening.